Okay, so with this question, I can just look at the table for the states, and the scenario does help, I guess, to an extent. A petrol station has a self-filling petrol pump. Customer can use the petrol pump when it's ready to dispense. So when it's ready, so the start would be when the pump is ready. That's the current state. Now, pump ready. The event, take nozzle, pump becomes in use, and there's an arrow going this way, so we know that this would be the next state, pump in use, and we know that this would be take nozzle. So I've done that bit. We haven't got a pump dispensing yet, but we do have a pump in use. I can jump to pump in use. The next state of pump in use is either going to be pump dispensing, or it's going to be pump out of use. Now, this does make a difference because of it could go this way, or pump in use can go this way. So which one of these leads back to pump in use? So pump in use, pump dispensing, pump in use. So we know that this one is pump dispensing. And we know from this that if it's pump in use, the event which triggers the next state would be press trigger. And we know that if it's pump dispensing, the event would be stop pressing trigger. So you're holding down the pump in the gas station to fill up your car, holding down the trigger on the petrol pump or not. Changes these two states. Done. Done. Pump in use. Let me just get rid of this stupid arrow. Pump in use, pump out of use. The event, replace nozzle. N for nozzle. Pump out of use, pump ready, already done for us. Reset pump display. Nice and easy. Okay, we then got these variables. What would be the data type? So we've got string, we've got integer, we've got char, we've got real or float, and we've got boolean. Easy, easy, easy. The next step in your homework is, hold on, just bear with me a second, because I'm going to have to switch over. Okay, so we've got mid, today, revision, and ape. So if we go to today, it's Tuesday, so on the right, Tuesday here. Revision is C. And ape is ape. If we do, so we're using with Tuesday, we've got a C and we've got an ape. But what are we doing with this Tuesday? Well, we need to mid today. So we need to mid Tuesday. So if I put Tuesday down here, and we're going to be using mid, what is it that we're going to have to do? Well, it's going to ask us to count 1, 2, 3. So this is the starting point. And go to characters 1, 2. So it's grabbing E and S by going 3 and then selecting 2 characters. So, do I have an eraser tool? There we go. That's not the, come on. Erase? Is that going to erase for me? This is like a really sucky little app. This has been, yeah, fine. So we've got ES. because that's what this leads to. Revision is C. So it's a capital C as well. So I'm going to put capital C there. Let me just get rid of this. How do I close this down? There you go. Great. And then we're adding on ape. So this is your answer, escape. We mided it. We combined it with char, C, because revision is char, capital C. And then we've got APE. You join them all together, we're done. Nice and easy. We then got int max weight. Max weight is 60.5. 60.5 plus 4.2 equals 64. Now, we don't, because we're inting this, we don't really need this, and we don't do this because int just chops off the decimal. It doesn't round it up, it doesn't round it down, it just chops off the decimal. So the answer is 64. Length max weight. Max weight is 60.5, but length is measuring, if we go to the pseudocode guide, yo, how do I get out of this and just get my mouse back? X, there you go. If I go to the pseudocode guide, and we go to length. Length needs a string to work with. So, what's the problem with this? The problem is max weight is not a string, it's a real number. So it's going to come back with error. That can't work. Cool. Let's move on to the next one. Mod week number 12. Mod is how many times something goes into it, focusing on just the remainder. So how many times does 12 go into 37? So 12 into 37 goes 12, 24, 36. So it goes 3 times. Remainder 1. That would be our answer 1 for remainder. Now we're dealing with some Boolean. If, this is basically an if revision is less than or equal to D, revision is C. So revision is less than or equal to D, so this is true, and not last batch. So we go to last batch, true, but, so last batch is true, but if we not true, what does it give us? It gives us false. True and false in the logic gate, so 1 and 0 gives us 0, i.e. the answer being false. Remember, this not works the same way as a logic gate. Last batch being true, i.e. 1. If we not 1, it gives us 0. Just keep that in mind. Okay. Some algorithms, let me just move this to the side. Can I move this to the side? This is so limiting. There you go, forever. Okay. Some algorithms are made up of input, process, and output. Are we inputting any information on line 8 here? No, we're not. Are we outputting? No, we're not. We're assigning hello world into some chars. Therefore, we're dealing with non-input, a process. Now, this is obvious that this is an output. But also, this is a function. A function is also a process. It manipulates data. A process is where it changes data. It calculates data. It does something to our data. The output is the result, displaying the result. Oh, I've got this twice. Awkward. Okay, read file is an input. When we read something, we're taking it from a text file and putting it into Python. Therefore, it is an input. Write file is where we save it, so we're outputting it to a text file. But we're also combining or concatenating data is with my chars. So that's also a process where we're changing the data. We're combining things together. We've then got this beautiful question about the pseudocode. Write in pseudocode a post condition loop. So we know that it's going to be repeat. I need to have, and we're doing all the odd numbers between 100 and 200. So I'm going to do number equals, or arrow should I say, 101. I'm then going to output the number 101. I'm then going to do number equals number plus 2 until number is bigger than 199. So this will output 101, then it'll go up by 2, 103, it'll keep going up 1, blah, 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 blah. When it gets to 199, it'll do it again, and it'll then stop. So it won't output any number over 199. Okay, so we know that this is a function. It tells us it's a function here. So let's rock and roll. We're going to do a function header, so I'm going to do function. It's called card payment. It needs to be all one word because it's pseudocode. So that it's a function. So we need to have it all one. We're passing into it A and B. A and B, we don't really have any information. So I'm just going to call it A and B. Well, actually we do. It tells us here, like we've got money here, we've got a name here, so we can call it amount. And the data type for this is going to be a real number. And we've also got name, and that's going to be a string. We know that this black means Boolean, so we need to return Boolean. And there we go. We are done. That's a header or car payment. Okay, let's have a look at 15. So we have two different pseudocode. We got this and we got this. We've got the two parameter passing methods that could be used. Complete the table for each of the two methods. Okay, fun. So we've obviously got by ref as one method, and we've got by val as another method. If we pass in 4 by using by ref, so if we pass in 4, what are you doing? Go away. So this is going to be 4, and we're using by ref, and this is 4. 4 add 1 equals 5. It's going to output 5. And it'll output 5 here. And this is the output what I think it's focusing on more. What happens here? So the explanation is it points, I'm going to underline that, to the original variable in memory. So it doesn't create a duplicate of the variable, it points to the original one, because variables are stored basically in your RAM. So let's say like X is stored here in address location 101. So it'll point to the original one and update it in memory. So when changed in module, it changes the main variable. If we did it by val, we pass them 4, we get this output. I don't know why we've got an output here, that's so dumb. 4 plus 1 equals 5, and procedure, but when we output, it still could be 4 because it's kept it locally. So a copy of the variable is passed by using by val, creating a local variable. So original in memory is not updated. So when we pass by val, it will send a copy of it, like a duplicate of x. It will change it, but the original one, which is over here, which is still 4, hasn't been updated to 5. Okay, this is a really interesting question. Pseudocode includes the use of parameters. So parameters are arguments. State 2 other features in pseudocode that support a modular approach to programming. Well, what it's basically asking you, talk to us all about modular programming. So in pseudocode you can use procedures or functions. That's one thing. Obviously you can use parameters or arguments, but it already mentions that, so we don't need to do that, so let's get rid of that. You could also talk about how it uses local variables which are created in the module. So that is what we're looking for. What else makes up modular programming? Well, you've got procedures and functions, and you've got local variables which are created in the module. That makes up modular programming, and as we said, parameters being passed in returns. But it already mentions it here, so we can't. Okay, final question. And this is the beast. What it wants us to do is, we've got an array, 500 elements of type string. A procedure log events is required to add data from the array to the text file. Unused elements are assigned empty. So to begin with, let's just plan this out before we actually get too carried away, but I've lost my pen, so we can't, oh, there we go. So we've got something called log array. It's a 1D array, so look what I'm going to do. I'm just going to draw out a 1D array which kind of looks like this. Okay, and we're going to have, remember pseudocode, so it starts on 1. 499, 500. So it's got 500 elements inside this 1D array. And they're all string. Now it could have data in it. I don't really know what the data is. I'm just going to do like X, Y. But if it's got unused elements, it's going to say empty inside. So notice how I'm just visualizing this right now in my own brain. Unused elements assigned for value empty. These can occur anywhere in the array. Okay, so we could have like ZZ in between. So you can have empty at any point. So we're not saying stop when it gets to empty, we're saying if it is empty, just ignore. If the question said, as soon as we see an empty, there's nothing left in the array, that basically means that we've only got 2 things in our array and the other 498 is going to be empty. But in this situation, it says that empty can occur anywhere in the array. Fine. So what I need to do is I need to loop through each line of the array, and when it checks what's inside of it and it equals empty, ignore. Or another way of me saying it would be when it doesn't equal empty, take the line and save it to a text file. Okay, that seems easy enough. So let's go into Replit. Alright, so procedure. I'm going to call it log. Oh, sorry, I'm just so tired. Procedure log events. Okay, we've got no parameters being passed in. What we need to do is use the pseudocode to open a file. So we open file. Did we give us a file name? Yes, it's called login file.txt. And we're going to be adding data to the array to the end of the existing file. So that's basically saying that if we've got a text file, we've got things inside of it already. Anything which we add just adds more. We're not overwriting it. If we're not overwriting it, we can't use W. We have to use A. A is append, add. So we want to do for append. Nice and easy so far. We're now going to do a loop, which is going to be 500. You can do it as for array index, and we're going to go from 1 to 500, or you can say 0 to 499. It doesn't matter which version you've used. So we're going to loop through the array 500 times. We now need to check each element in the array. So if log array index, now I can call this array index anything. I can call it index, I can call it I. I'm calling it array index because it makes sense. That's the array index which we're going through. So if it does not equal empty, but not equal in pseudocode is not that, it is actually this. So if it doesn't equal empty, then what are we to do? We want to then take whatever's inside the array and save it to a text file. But before we save it to a text file, we need to put it into a variable. So I'm going to call it element data. So we're taking whatever's inside the array. So it would be like XX. I'm going to put it into a variable called element data. So we need to assign it the log array index. Nice and easy. What next? Then what we want to do is save it to the file. So we need to do, it's not f.write, it'll be, come on man, write file, the name of the file, which is loginfile.txt, and then we need to put in the saving to it the variable element data, i.e. we're saving to it x, and then it'll be y the next time it loops. I then need to end if. So what's going on here? It's basically going through each element in the array. So it's going through number 1. Is it empty? Does it equal empty? No, it doesn't. Because it doesn't equal empty, let's put xx into a variable. We're then going to put that variable into the text file. This is how you do it in pseudocode. You need to put it into a variable first. You then need to use write file, the name of the file, and then the variable with the information we're saving to the text file. If we want to not use append and use write, it would be exactly the same code, but we just put write instead of append here. End if. Next array index. Close file loginfile.txt. So I put the name of the file to close. And then end procedure. So we open up the file to append. We loop through each one. If it doesn't equal empty, then take the line, go away Grammarly. Take the line and then put it into a variable, then put that variable into login file.txt, env if, loop it through, close the file, end procedure. Think back to how I planned this out. I just quickly drew what the array could look like. I identified that it'll keep going no matter what. It didn't stop on empty, it just kept going. That empty could be anywhere, so I needed something which will check to see if it's empty or not empty. When it is empty, we just ignore it. We don't stop, we just ignore it. Otherwise, we take whatever we want from the text file and we put it, from the array, and we put it into the text file. Simple as that. We'll go back to this. Is there anything else which we need to do? Well, just to remind you, this is how you write to a file. It's so important that you practice this and reading to a file. Close file. There is one more thing I need to do, and that is declare my local variables, because it's pseudocode declare file data, sorry, not file data, declare array index, which is this variable here, and it's going to be an integer because it's used to count the loop, and declare, what's the other variable I made? Element data, and that's going to be of data type string. How do we know it's a string? Because I'm putting it straight from the array into a text file without having to turn it into an integer, from an integer into a string. Text files can only take in string. Remember that, we've done that a few times. There's no converting it from integer to string, so we're fine. Okay, there we go. This is what you'll get your marks for. If you got this correct and this, that is, in fact, let me print screen it. You get 1 mark for this. You got 1 mark for this, but you have to say integer as well for declaring it. You get 1 mark for appending this, but you have to do this bit right as well. You get 1 mark for the correct loop. So these are connected together, and this is connected together. You get 1 mark for basically, let's just check, this bit to check to see if it's empty or not empty. You get 1 mark for this bit. You get 1 mark for this bit. And you also get 1 mark for closing the file outside of the loop, because we don't want to close it in the loop, that'd be stupid. So that was out of 8 possible marks. 1 mark, 2 marks, 3 marks for opening the file for append, 4 marks for correct loop, 5 marks for this if statement, 6 marks for the array, 1 mark of 7 for writing to the file, and the 8th mark for closing the file outside of the loop.